It's another beautiful Friday morning. How are you doing? Welcome to Lifestyle Friday. My name is James Okumu. So glad you could take the time to hook up with me today because, boy, do I have a story for you. Many of us are looking for greener pastures, and many of us have grown up believing if only I could fly to the US of A, or if only I could fly to Saudi Arabia, or if only I could fly to whatever country it is, you're thinking, man, my life would change. The opportunities out there are unbelievable. If I manage to go there and start living my life there, then man, I'll have all this wealth. And for some people, it works out that way, but that's not the story for everybody. You have those people who pack their bags, sell everything they have, go out there, and man, it just becomes, it's almost like a pit in hell, so to speak, because life becomes so unbearable. I know people who've packed their bags and gone to the States or gone to France or Britain or wherever. And a couple of months back, after that, they're back in the country and they're thinking, no, that's not for me. It works for some people, it doesn't work for some people. And I have an interesting story this morning for you. We will be having a guest in the studio, an amazing lady who will be sharing her story of how she, basically just the journey of her life, and it's been quite a roller coaster of a ride, and how she went off abroad thinking everything now would become better, but apparently it did not. Fact, it actually became worse. So we'll get to hear from her in the next short while. But I'm just curious, even as we get into this discussion, are you one of those people who went out of the country into a new territory and tried to build your life there, but it just didn't work for you, and you thought, you know what, let me just go back home. Life is best at home, and you ended up coming home. I know people who've also tried to go for studies abroad, and they just couldn't hack. The culture shock, the way of life was just so different for them, they thought, no, and they came back here. Are you one such person who tried to go, begin your life somewhere else, and it didn't work, and you came back? I would also love to hear from you today. 20316 is the SMS line. WhatsApp number is 0786 316 316. It is Lifestyle Friday. Now, our guest is setting up. We'll get to hear her amazing story in the next short while of how her life has been. She traveled abroad, but it didn't work out for her. It actually ended up being worse than how life was for her when she was here at home. So we'll get to hear from her in the next short while. Have you had your cup of tea this morning? I've already had 2 cups of tea. Yes, by now I've already had 2 cups of tea. Eden Tea, finest garden tea available. If you haven't tried it, my friend, you need to try it. Eden Tea reminding you and I to be our brother's keeper. Together we can stop the spread of the coronavirus. How do we do that? My friend, watu wanao mikono. Wash your hands with soap and running water. Do that consistently everywhere you go. Let's not get tired of these small things. You remember, we were doing this and the numbers were lower. Now we've become careless and the numbers are on the rise again. Let's wash our hands with soap and running water. Let's put on our face mask when we're out there interacting with other people. Let's maintain social distance as we interact with others. Watu wa matatu, tuache kujaza watu kwa matatu like back in the day. Let's watch out for each other, because unless we work together, then this thing will continue. The numbers will continue to be on the high. So Eden Tea is reminding you and I, because they care for us, that let's maintain these small things. Wash your hands, put on your face mask. Interpersonal distance is important, and as we do so, we will see the numbers begin to drop again, because we must change the curve, and we have the capacity to be able to do so. Eden Tea, available at leading outlets, comes to you in a number of flavors: Eden Green Tea, Eden Lemon Tea, Eden Purple Tea, Eden Ginger Tea, Eden Premium Tea. If you haven't tried it, try it. It truly is the finest garden tea. Right now, we want to get something from Professor Ndete on food for thought. It's all about the mind and the importance of having a healthy mind, and talking about issues to do with depression and issues to do with suicide and such things that we sometimes face, or people around us face, and we don't know how to deal with them. And so every Friday on Lifestyle Friday, we have this segment where we focus on our mind and understanding some of the issues we have when it comes to having a healthy mind. So food for thought with Professor Ndete.
Food for Thought with Professor David Ndete.
Now, it is said that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, meaning your mind is the most powerful thing to determine the quality of your life. Welcome to Food for Thought with Professor Ndete. On the last episode, we began a very interesting conversation about panic attacks, understanding what they are and what causes them, and how to manage them and to treat them, but we didn't quite get to the end of that conversation. So we pick up from where we left off in the last episode. Professor, I'm also wondering, could one get a panic attack when a lot of expectation is put on you? You know, there's so much pressure to perform and a lot of expectation is put on you and so many people are depending on you. Could that be a recipe for a panic attack?
Yes, it can be a recipe for panic attack. Anything that puts undue pressure on you, and this pressure comes at a particular time, yes, it can precipitate a panic attack.
Mm-hmm. How then do you help somebody who gets panic attacks? Where do you even begin with them?
The most important thing, most important person in that management is actually the patient themselves.
Oh, how so?
Extremely important. It's very, very important for the person. If I am depressed, for example, if I am depressed, I need to understand what I'm going through. I need to understand what I am feeling. And I would hope that if I am seeing a doctor, the first question you would ask me after taking history from me is this question: do you know what is going on in your body? Do you understand what is going on? This is a question you want to ask the patient. It's a question that you want to ask the relatives. Do they understand what is going on? And knowledge is power.
Yes.
Many people have problems, and they go on with these problems because they do not understand what is going on in their lives. They do not understand their symptoms. If I got a panic attack and my heart is racing, I need to understand that is not my heart that is sick.
Yeah.
If I have a headache, and there are standing characteristics of headaches that are later say to anxiety, I need to understand and I need to be explained that those headaches are not as a result of a problem inside the brain. If I am breathing fast, and I need to understand, I need to be explained so that I can understand why I'm breathing like that is not because there's anything the matter with my lungs.
Yeah.
So the patient understanding what we are going through is critically important. And this is why in psychological medicine, you cannot afford to say, I am the doctor, I have made a diagnosis, go and do what I have told you to do, and then you shout next to the patient. At the end of the day, encourage the patient to ask questions so that as they leave that office, they have a very clear understanding of what is going on in their lives. And that is so critically important. I can give you stories upon stories where even people who have done research to find out, does it make a difference if the patient understands what they are going through as opposed to be being told by the doctor what they should do without being told why they should be doing those things.
Yes.
The doctor is saying. We are talking about professional communication. Very important. I may be the best doctor in the world. I may have all the best qualifications. I may have come at the top of the class. I may have all the degrees. But if I'm not able to relate on a one-on-one basis with a patient, those degrees and those qualifications do not matter to the patient.
Right.
That's why you hear stories like this. There is a doctor somewhere, and he may be even a clinical officer. And they will move from here and go through all the specialists in Nairobi and go to some very remote place because they have been told that doctor listens or that clinical officer listens. So it's very important. So the most important person is the patient himself. If people are hearing voices, for example, and the people do hear voices, and they can hear crystal clear, I may be digressing, and they can hear crystal clear voices like you are hearing my voice. But you can't tell them they are not hearing their voice.
Yeah, because they are
actually hearing the voice.
Yeah.
They think it's because of some evil spirits or something, and the people around them will tell you are pretending that you can't be hearing voices, we are not talking. But that person is hearing. But if you sit down with that person and tell you, yes, I agree with you, you are hearing voices. And the voices may be telling you this and that and that and that. But I have different explanation for this. It's a condition which presents like this, and we can chase away those voices if you do ABCD.
Okay.
That patient will leave that place very late.
Okay.
Because we understand their condition.
I'm just thinking about a scenario of a child. We previously talked about students and how sometimes they get panic attacks, especially during the times of an exam. For me as a parent, if I realize that my child actually does get panic attacks, how do I help them? Because I'm thinking this is something, if we don't deal with, may even affect their self-esteem, how they see themselves. They may grow up thinking that hawako kamili, there's something so wrong with them. So as a parent, where do I begin? How do I help my child?
I think the most important thing is, again, you as a parent, to understand that your child is going through a panic attack. Or is going through anxiety or some kind of depression, and they see that as a medical condition. Don't see that as a reflection of a child who is not responsible, a child who is not disciplined, never shout at this child, never use the stick, because it's just going to complicate the matters for that child. So the understanding of the parent is very important. But more often than not, you cannot blame the parents because they do not know, they do not understand. But I think a program like this will make them understand what is going on and avoid doing the wrong things. And then after that, if we realize there's this kind of problem, then they can seek help. When you have a situation where there is community or family cohesion, we are talking about social support. Maybe there's somebody in the family or somebody in the social network, or somebody whose child has gone through the same process, and they can be extremely very helpful by saying, you know what, I had a son I had a daughter, lovely child who was going through this. We thought it was a terrible thing, and this is what we did, and the things seemed to help. So getting support from people who are close to you, getting support or understanding from your social networks, even long before you start going to see a professional, it can easily help or tremendously help. But as you go up trying this and that, and the more as you start, most of the problem will be resolved at that level when you understand what could be going wrong. The child may not understand, but you as a parent understand. Other people in the family, extended family, friends can help even in workplaces. Then majority of the people can be managed at that level. But then there will always be situations where there is need for highly specialized skills, especially when it is necessary to prescribe certain types of medicines. And again, it's like you start with a base like this, and then as you go up, you can see right at the top, only a few people will need to see very highly specialized skills.
Okay.
It's important for us to do these things, and I'll tell you the reason why. We have very few professionals in this country. And then one time I was talking to a very famous psychiatrist, and we were having a discussion. And we said, when shall we have the resources that are available in the Western settings?
Yes.
Because we have very few resources in terms of highly specialized professional. This person is a housed man. He was out against the war and said, if you ask me, it may take 1,000 years for us to achieve what we have already achieved.
Wow.
Maybe that was a parabolic. But basically what we were saying, we have a long way to go. The point is, yes, we may have a long way to go, but we have the same problems right here, the same problems that we have over there. Descending the same way. Are we going to tell them, sorry, there's nothing I can do for you, we just have to wait until we have enough resources?
No.
That would be ridiculous.
Yes.
What we are saying is, and listen to me very carefully, a time comes when you have to be innovative and say, I have this stick, this is what I have in my hand. Like Moses was asked by God, what do you have? He had a stick. Okay? So start with what you have. So here in Kenya, and when I'm talking about Kenya, I am talking of Kenya as an example of very many countries we call low and middle-income countries. We have to learn to use what the stick that we have in our hands before we can get those resources that may take a long time to come. Because this person, it is me, this child, I want resource today. Don't tell me, sorry, we don't have the necessary resources.
Yes.
We have to wait for a long time now.
Okay. Indeed, knowledge is power. When you begin to understand some of the things about our mind and how it works, then some of these conditions that we stigmatize look like something that we can manage. Remember, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That's food for thought for today. That's food for thought, my friend, with Professor Ndetei, and some wonderful information concerning the mind. Now, thank you for your responses on today's topic that we are just about to get into. This one says, I'm waiting for today's topic so eagerly. My husband left for Canada in May 2019. We thought it would take like 2 months or 3 months for him to get a job so that I could join him. 1 year, 5 months, that has not happened. We feel like the long distance has become too much, so he decided to come back. December 17th is the day. I must say the uncertainty of the future is scary. Let me tell you, God will take care of you. This morning, I'm so excited to be hosting Mercy Atieno. Mercy, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Finally, we are here. Technical issues, but we are here. Thank you for finding the time to talk to us. So let's get into your story. Where does your story begin? How did you grow up?
I grew up in my village in Kabura in Kenya.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a polygamous family with my mom and my dad, and I'm the second last born for my mom.
Okay.
And I went to Kabura Primary School. After that, I proceeded to Nia Girls High School. And when I graduated from high school, actually when I was in high school, my mom passed away.
Oh.
And I graduated from high school. I went to stay with one of my brothers, who was also a student at Baraton University in Eldoret. And 2 months down the line, my brother passed away very suddenly. Yeah, very unexpectedly. After he passed on, one of his friends went to the United States.
Okay.
And emailing me and telling me that he wanted to take me to the US, and that's how it started.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, how did you end up going out of the country? What were the circumstances that led you to go out of the country?
Okay, so my brother's friend, his name is, he sent me some application forms.
Yes.
For a Christian
right now.
Okay, I think we are getting some audio from somewhere else. We need to sort that out. I hope my producer can sort that out. So you got some forms, and you're applying for
Wichita Hills College in Arkansas.
Okay, what course were you going to do?
And, guidance and counseling. And I got accepted, and it said that I have a full scholarship to go to college.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was really excited, and I went to the American Embassy, and on my first attempt, I was issued with a student visa.
Wow, that's nice. I'm just wondering, did you have the money to travel?
No, I didn't have the money to travel. So I was walking all around in Nairobi City until I came to HELB, Higher Education Loans Board.
Mm-hmm.
And I met somebody there called Mr. Ndegwa, who said that they can't fund me if I'm going to study outside Kenya. So he introduced me to a pastor's wife called Ali Ayonga. And I told her my story. I told her that my mom passed on. My dad is really old and cannot help me in any way, and I just want to go to the US. So they took me to their church in Nairobi, and they told the congregation about me, and they prayed, and they told me to go take a rest. I didn't see them doing a fundraising. On Monday, when I went to Ms. Yonga's office, she told me that my plane ticket was ready.
Wow.
So I traveled I traveled to the US without my clothes. I just had my documents and some clothes that were donated to me by the church.
So did you have somebody who was going to meet you when you got to the US?
The school was supposed to meet me, Washita Hills College. However, when I got to Houston, Texas, I was delayed. I was delayed because the main school was in Maryland and I was going to Arkansas. So I missed the flight. And so the person who came to pick me up missed me at the time I was supposed to arrive, and they went back.
Okay.
So I had to wait in the airport for about 4 to 5 hours. Then I found a good Samaritan, an African-American lady who went through all my papers, and she called the school and told them I was at the airport, and so they came. Actually, not even 5 hours, almost 8 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you scared when you found no one there?
I was scared because there was a lot of things I'm not used to in Kenya. You know, like it was summertime and everybody wearing shorts and it's not something I'm used to seeing.
Yes.
I was also scared because when I tried to buy food, it was really expensive. So I was like, oh my God, I'm lost in a foreign land.
Wow.
But the African-American lady was really, really friendly to me. And she helped me to get comfortable and talk to me and said I'm from her motherland and I'm so welcomed in America. So she really helped to ease out the tension and the waiting, the long wait.
Okay. So finally, when somebody from the college came, where did they take you?
They took me to college, which is like 4 hours away from the airport.
Yes.
And it was weird to me because there were rough roads, like Kenya, not tarmac. Like it was really in the interior, in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
And thinking of America, I had imagined it would be like a city, like Nairobi or like bigger,
Yeah.
So as he was taking me, I was a bit like, what? Are we still in America? But eventually we got there and I got in the shower. I didn't know how to turn on the shower. Like I didn't know anything. I was just...
Wow.
Yeah.
So once you got there, did you begin your studies immediately? Were there delays in that? How did that turn out?
So when I got there, I was told that we had to go on a summer program to sell some Christian books door to door, and that at the end of the summer, we would come back and register for classes.
Oh, sell books door to door?
Yes.
How do you do that, and this is foreign territory to you?
We went and lived in a church in Kansas, Kansas State. And there were other foreign people from Mexico, from Ghana, from other third world countries.
Okay.
And there were 2 American students who are actually really students. So every morning we would wake up and take breakfast, which was also food I'd never seen in my life. It was a vegetarian diet.
Oh.
And, yeah. We would get inside our white van and we would be taken around in different estates, and we would knock on people's doors, introduce ourselves, and then try to sell books. Some of the books we sold are like Desire of Ages, a lot of books by Ellen G. White, SDA books.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was the response? I mean, I'm just trying to imagine for you. This is not something you are doing here at home. Now you're in a foreign land, and you have to knock on people's doors and sell them books. How did the people respond to that?
Okay, some people were really nice. They would be like, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in the books, but here's a $10 donation. Hopefully it will help with your... And some people were really mean. Some people really could not understand my accent, what I was saying.
Yes.
I would go like 2 minutes talking, and they'll be like, what did you just say? And some people had dogs. You know, many Americans, they have dogs, and I'm very scared of dogs.
Yeah.
So I did sell some books. Eventually, they trained me on how to speak with American accent. And
so how long did you sell? How long did you sell the books?
For about 4 months.
Wow.
After 4 months, yeah. After 4 months, I thought now we were going to school.
Yes.
And we did leave Kansas, and we went to the school, to the college. And then they said we have to go sell books again somewhere.
The same books?
So, yes, we were not going to classes.
Oh, my goodness.
So I had to go sell books, yeah, in another part of Arkansas, and we had to go live in the church again. And so after the summer program was over, we had to continue selling books throughout, So
did you ever go for classes, or you only sold books?
At this particular place, I never went to any class at all.
Wow.
I remember I really wanted to go to school. Like, you know, in Kenya, we love school.
Yes.
So one day I met a missionary lady from a Baptist church, and she was captured by my accent. So she said I didn't look okay. And took me somewhere to eat pizza, and she told me to tell her the truth, like, what is going on? What are you doing in America? You know, walking around with books. And I remember that the people in charge, they would peep in and say, no, you can't do this. You can't be meeting her in this place. No, no, no.
Wow.
And the lady farm and was like, no, I'm a missionary in Kenya, so I'm going to talk to her until I'm done. She talked to me, she said I'm not in a good place, and she wants to get me out. Eventually, she stole me from the church at night, and she took me to her house, yeah. She told her church members again.
So this was after how months? How many months? How many months now had you been selling books before you met this woman?
Now we are going on 1 year.
Wow.
Almost 1 year.
Okay.
Yes. So she stole me from the church and took me to her house, and she took me to another church, Baptist church, and they were able to raise for me $1,200 US. And with money, they registered me in a community college called Northwest Arkansas Community College.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started going to school from her house. However, this money was not even a quarter of the international tuition, because, you know, if you're in a foreign land,
yeah,
in the US, you have to pay 3 times what American citizens pay. And you don't qualify for scholarships, you don't qualify for financial aid, you're just really limited. So I trained as a certified nursing assistant, what they call CNA. And I started working, you know, to get extra money to pay for my college. However, it still was not enough.
Okay.
So eventually, I had no option but to drop out of school, and I continued working as a CNA in Arkansas.
Okay. So all this time, now that you've dropped out of school, are you still staying with this lady?
Yes, I'm still staying with this lady.
Okay.
Yes. Eventually, I met some Kenyans who told me there's a really big Kenyan community in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
And that I would have a lot more support there. Maybe I could find ways that I could pay for my tuition and get back in school. And I was advised to go to Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
At the time, I had already in the US, it's really easy to buy a car. If you're working and you can prove that you're working, you can give a small deposit, like for 50,000 Kenyan shillings, and they can give you a car and you can continue paying as you work. So at this point, I had a Dodge Neon, small white car.
Yeah. Okay.
And I drove to Dallas, Texas. Excuse me. And it's in Dallas, I surely met a big Kenyan community.
Yeah.
Church community. I went to All Nations SDA Church in Arlington, Texas. But I continued to work as a CNA.
Okay. So as you were working as a CNA, was it a good paying job, or was it just a job to help you get by every day?
CNA actually pays good if you work many hours.
Okay.
So you do a lot of double shifts, like 16 hours a day working. I remember at one point I had like 4 jobs at once.
Wow.
Where, yeah, in the US you have to work a lot. So I remember that at one point I had 4 jobs and I would work almost like around the clock, 24 hours, and I would be so tired. That, once I fell asleep at work and I got fired. Wow. But it's really easy to find a job, yeah, as a CNA. So I just found another job and I continued with life.
Okay. All this time, were you in communication with people back home?
Yes, I always communicated with people back home, but I didn't want them to worry about me so much. So I didn't tell them that I was facing challenges. I just told them I'm doing, I have to cover it. Yeah.
The reason I'm asking that is usually because when somebody goes to the US, those of us who are back here, you know, we assume they're doing so well, so we keep asking them to send us some money, to send us this and this. Did you experience that?
Of course. Of course I experienced that. And whenever I could, you know, I would send something small to help with my younger sister's tuition. And whenever I couldn't, you know, I just told her to wait.
Yes.
Yeah, eventually I relocated again from Dallas, Texas to New Jersey. Yes, in New Jersey I stayed with a friend. I tried to do modeling. I worked for Macy's. You know, I had a social security number. Yeah. And I had a state ID, Arkansas state ID. So I could easily get a job legally.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I got a job. I worked... but I left the East Coast because it was just really cold. Okay. During the winter, it was snowing a lot and it was just like really, really cold.
I'm just wondering, so at what point did things begin to go in the wrong direction for you?
When I moved to California.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So when I relocated to Los Angeles, California, I had these dreams, you know, to become a singer, to become an actress. Yeah. And I actually did some background work for television shows like Judy, Joe Brown, America's Got Talent. Over there, they pay you to do background work. Okay. Like in the audience. Like, for example, in Kenya, we have Churchill Show, which is a comedy show. Yeah. So when you go in the show, they pay you to sit there as an audience. Okay. So I did that work, but after a while, I ended up homeless because California is just so expensive. A bed sitter, or what they call a studio apartment, costs about $800 US, which is like 80,000 Kenya shillings.
Yeah, and that's monthly.
Yeah, and that's a very tiny place. Okay. So, yeah. Despite my work, despite everything, I just couldn't keep up, and I also want to help my family. I decided to go to live in a homeless shelter in California.
How was life in a homeless shelter? You know, many of these things, we just see them in the movies. So for you who's been to a homeless shelter, how is the experience like?
Oh my God, it's terrible. It's a lot of desperation. It's really, really, really bad to be homeless. Okay. Yeah.
How long were you there?
Really terrible.
How long were you in there?
I was in the shelter, say, for almost 6 months.
Wow.
And although I was working, I when I got to the shelter, I started working again. I got a job at Universal Studios Hollywood. And I was working and taking the train, but the staff at the shelter, they were mistreating people, and there was a lot of abuses. I'll give you a very good example. You have some people who are mentally ill.
Okay.
In the shelter.
Yeah.
So when somebody is mentally ill, they can't control themselves how they go for long calls and short calls. And they just do it anywhere. And so they hire somebody to clean, but they will tell us to clean.
Oh.
Somebody's long.
Wow, that's terrible.
Yeah, and then a lot of people donate things to the shelter, like clothing and food, and they don't give them out to. They don't give them out. They're supposed to.
Okay.
So it really benefits the people who work there, other than the homeless people.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So I know at the shelter a couple of things happened that even turned your situation worse than what it was. What happened?
Yeah, so my father passed away in Kenya. Like I told you, when I left Kenya, my father was old.
Yes.
So my father passed on. And when my father passed on, I couldn't come to Kenya for his burial. Yeah. So I asked my family to make for me a video of the funeral of my dad.
Okay.
And they did. After they did the video, they mailed it to me. So in the shelter, when they mail to you something, they have the mailboxes. So I remember one day coming to the shelter and finding in my mailbox a letter from Kenya. It was opened and it had nothing inside, and I knew definitely that it was the video of my father's funeral. Yes. I took the empty envelope and I was heading to my room in the shelter. I noticed in the office that they were watching my father's funeral. Wow. So when they saw me, they banged the door, locked my face, and they started laughing. And this really made me angry. Yeah. So I remember knocking on the door first, very gently, and saying, excuse me, you have my mail. Why are you opening my mail? Why are you watching my father's funeral? And the laughter grew even louder. Yeah. And so, sorry, I'm going to cry.
It's okay. I know it's a painful thing to remember.
Yeah, so when it's the laughter that really irritated me, and I think I went out of my mind. Yeah. Because I was like, how are you doing this? And what is so funny that my father is dead? Why are you laughing? Yes. My father is dead. And so I used to sell sometimes smokies. I used to do any job that came across. So I had charcoal lighter fluid. I poured it on the carpet outside the door. Yeah. And I lit it on fire to get their attention to open the door to give me my things. Yes. And when they smelled it, they came out and they turned the fire off with a hooded sweatshirt. It's in the police reports. I believe I have those until today. So after they turned the fire off, I was just so confused. I was crying. I was like, I had a breakdown, total breakdown. Yeah. So I remember that they called the police. And when the police came, they took me to jail.
What?
So.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they took me to jail and they set my bail very, very high. They set my bail at 2.5 million Kenyan shillings, which is $50,000 US. Yeah. And this was money that I could not raise. So I remember calling the Kenyan embassy and telling them that I was arrested. And the embassy was giving me a runaround, like, call tomorrow, call in the afternoon. Somebody's not here to pick up your call. So the first time that I went to court, they were reading my charges and they said they were going to add 2 more charges. Okay. 2 more felony charges. They said they were going to add criminal threat charges. And I was like, what? And they said that the time I was lighting the rag on fire, I said, I will burn this building down and kill you.
What?
But something that I did not say because there was a surveillance video which could have captured me saying that. there were police reports which were written after the incident, and it was not stated anywhere in the police report that I said I will kill anybody. There were fire department reports. There were many reports, and if I had said I will kill you, it could have been it could have been in the video, you know. So I didn't say. And the charges just stuck, and they were crying crocodile tears in court and said, she's a terrorist, she's coming here, she says she wants to kill us. And it was just my word against their fake crocodile tears.
Yes.
Nobody else would fight for me. So the charges stuck, and I had 3 felony charges. So I kept going to court, back and forth. The first lawyer told me to say that I was on drugs. That's why I lit the rag on fire. Sorry, 1 second. And I told the lawyer, I don't do drugs. I have never done drugs in my life. And so I had to fire the lawyer. This was a Hispanic lawyer. Then they gave me an African-American lawyer, which I thought would be better, but he was much worse because he didn't care. He just said, let's give the case 1 more month, 2 months, 3 months.
So how long did the case drag in court? How many months?
18 months, which is even illegal because the case is not supposed to take more than 12 months unless it's a murder case.
Wow.
So they took me in and out for 18 months. And during these 18 months, there is a time that I actually wrote to Raila Odinga, who was then the Prime Minister of Kenya. And he received my letter. After he read it, he called his sister, Akinyi Odinga, who was then the ambassador in Los Angeles. And Akinyi said, how can we help you? She came to visit me in jail. And I said, you can get me a better lawyer. You can come and visit me. You can send some Kenyans to court to show solidarity. And on the day that she sent a lawyer to take over my case, the public defender that I had said I'm incompetent to stand trial. And he said that's to make sure that the Kenyan people don't take over my case. So I remember that day going to court and the judge not even reading my case, not reading my case number, saying, we are declaring the defendants mentally incompetent to stand trial. This case is postponed for 90 days.
Wow.
And I crying in court. I was like, no, this is not fair. This is not fair. This is not fair. Why are you postponing my case for 90 days? And the time I was crying is the more they took advantage of me. They kept saying, you see how she's acting? You see how she's crying? She's really mental. She's really insane. So the Kenyan people ran away and they never came back. They believed that I was mental.
So after 90 days, what did they finally decide concerning the case?
They didn't decide anything. I came back after 90 days. They just postponed the case for 2 more months again.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. They just came and they postponed the case again. I had some people come to interview me in the jail and they said that I was not crazy. The doctor said I was not crazy. And inside the jail, there was also a lot of abuse, physical abuse. The police officer. I remember one time I was taken to the hall because I had talked to a police officer who was calling me a monkey. The police officer was saying, "You're African monkey, go chase the monkeys over there in Africa. Nobody cares about you." And I said, "Don't dare you call me a monkey. I'm not a monkey." And I used a curse word, "You're a bee." And so when I said that, they took me to the hall and they almost killed me. The same style. Wow. George Floyd, because I remember them stepping on my back with their boots and just pressing on my chest until I couldn't breathe.
Oh my goodness.
When I was just like literally gasping for breath. And they were beating me so mercilessly. But you see, the thing is that they're the ones who provoked me. They called me a monkey. And now I was almost being killed here. They kicked me, they beat me until they saw that like I was almost dead. Then they dragged me and put me in a room that is full of human feces. After that, they called the medical and they said I was trying to commit suicide.
Wow. So at what point was your case decided?
So after 18 months, they took me to trial. At the trial, I was told that I cannot speak, I cannot say anything because the judge that I had, his name is Kathleen Kennedy. But the judge that I had, she's a woman, and then she's really bad. If you dare speak anything, she will give you maximum sentence, which is 8 years. So I didn't speak. So you can imagine a one-sided trial where only the people accusing you, they are talking, they are showing their evidence, and you cannot defend yourself. The lawyer did not try to defend me at all. There was nothing in my favor. And the trial lasted about 1 day, and I was sentenced to 5 years in prison.
Wow, 5 years.
So I had 5 years. And it's considered a violent offense, so I had to serve 85% of the 5 years.
Okay. You know, I know there's still so many questions I would have wanted to ask you, but I'm looking at the time, and our time is almost up. So, how long did you serve the full 5 years, and what was your experience in the prison?
In the prison, you know, I had become tough now. I had cried, I'd been a victim until I was tired.
Yeah.
They tried to me to do chores, you know, they assign you to something to do.
Yeah.
And I remember they told me to wipe tables, and I said, no, teach me a skill that I don't know. So the whole time I was learning computers. 5 years, I got about 8 certificates.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah. Which almost, they all got lost in the mail. Somebody was trying to mail them to me.
Okay.
And I was loved a lot in prison, interestingly.
Wow.
A lot of songs, yes. And I used to sing for inmates. You know, you could tell me a story, I would create a song out of it in very short time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the inmates, they really loved me. The officers, they were really like amazed. Some hated me because I would stand up. If you told me anything that I don't want to do, I would just, no, I'm not going to do it. Just kill me if you want. I felt like I have nothing else to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long were you in prison?
I was in prison 85% of 5 years.
Okay. Then how did you end up back home? Because we're almost out of time.
Yeah, so after serving the whole prison sentence, I thought I was getting now because I've paid my debt to society, as they said. But no, I was handcuffed again on my release date and taken to San Diego Immigration Jail. Excuse me. So at San Diego Immigration Jail, they don't give you a lawyer there, so I was my own lawyer.
Yeah.
I had to defend myself so that I don't get deported for the same crime I've already served prison.
Okay.
So I stayed there for 8 months. I lost my case. I tried to file appeal. It was rejected. And so I went on a hunger strike. After 2 months of hunger strike, they just came. They pulled all the IVs out of me. I was being fed through IV and through my nose.
Yeah.
They pulled everything out, and they put me on a stretcher in an ambulance, in a hospital gown, nothing else on.
What?
And they deported me to Kenya, naked.
So you were deported in a hospital gown?
I was deported in a hospital gown that just covers the front.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I came with about 8 people in a military plane.
Yeah.
There was a breathing therapist, there was a doctor, there were many officers, and they were just having much fun in the plane, saying how they are going to carnival when they get to Kenya. They're so excited to be coming to Africa.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm here crying, and you are just celebrating. I didn't tell them.
Yeah.
But when we got to the airport, they tried to force me to wear jail clothes at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. And I said, no way I'm going to wear jail clothes in my country. So I started screaming in the plane, and so the Kenyan officers came, and they said, don't touch her anymore. She's in Kenyan soil now.
Yeah.
And they called the Kenya Red Cross, who came to the airport. They took many, many photos of me, the way I was deported.
Yeah.
And the Kenya Red Cross took me to Mater Hospital in South B, and they made the American people to pay for the bill. I was admitted there for about 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
And then I was released.
Okay. As we wrap up, because my time is up, what are you doing now with yourself? What are you doing?
right now I am doing music. I have a book coming up. Somebody that offered to help me publish my book.
Wow.
I'm grateful, yes.
Yes.
And I have some Kenyaji chicken,
yes,
like local chicken that I rear. I like to farm and grow like vegetables.
That's good. Wow.
Yeah, and I sell my merchandise like T-shirts, hoodies from my songs.
Well, Mercy, thank you. Thank you for agreeing to talk to us. Unfortunately, our time is up, but we would really have loved to hear more from you. But I love the fact that you didn't give up. You're still moving on with your life. You're doing something with yourself. May the Lord continue to bless the work of your hands. And thank you for talking to us today. Well, I'm out of time, my friend. Time has gone so fast, but I hope that story has inspired you. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep pushing on. All things are possible.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.